The traditional Western celebrates a hero's journey to freedom and empowerment, whereas in an acid Western, on the other hand, these so called heroes are dragged through the mud slop and gutter muck towards death, or worse. And that's the premise you'll find inside the More Rulebook edition of Frontier Scum from Games Omnivorous and Free League Publishing. And I'll share my review right after this. Howdy, Podnas, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I'll be sharing my review of the Frontier Scum More Rulebook edition from Games Omnivorous and Free League Publishing. This is written by Carl Druid and Brian Yaksha, with artwork provided by Chalk Down and Skull Fungus. This 68-page A5 size dime novel hardcover with PDF is available now. It carries an MSRP of $39.99. If you want to grab just the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $9.90. Having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the More Rulebook edition of Frontier Scum. A few things to mention before we get stuck in. My friends over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. And then, of course, there is an introductory adventure contained within. So if you're a player and your game master has picked up Frontier Scum, maybe they just haven't started running it yet. Maybe they've been talking about picking this up. Keep in mind, there are some minor spoilers ahead, so I want to warn you of that right up front. Now, of course, if your game master has been kicking around picking this up, let them know about this review. That way they can approach Frontier Scum and make a far more informed buying decision. First thing I want to mention is just the way that this book is put together. When I first got this, when I opened this up, I thought, uh-oh, is there something wrong here? Because there's really no spine. And then during one of my live streams, somebody had mentioned that this is supposed to be a reproduction of a late 19th century dime novel. I thought, that's pretty wild. So you'll see front cover and back cover, really thick cardstock, and really no spine. We've got our stitching you can see right there. Really interesting. First thing we'll do is take a peek at the credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life. So let's give credit where credit is due. If you're not familiar with Frontier Scum, it is a very rules light, old school Renaissance styled acid Western role-playing game. And I'll talk about what an acid Western is in just a moment. This originally started off as a hack of Mirkborg and has kind of grown from there. Now we're going to start off, first 10 pages is going to give us information about the setting itself. And I got to say, this is really cool because we've got all these ads sprinkled throughout, and the layout is actually supposed to be an old Western newspaper. And one of the cool things about these advertisements, many of them are not just simply there as artwork. They actually contain information about game mechanics as well as info about the setting. Very nicely done. As far as the mechanics of the game, super, super easy. You're rolling a 20-sided die. You're going to have a difficulty number that you're looking to meet or exceed. Now, we do have advantage and disadvantage. So if you've got advantage, you'll roll two 20-sided dice and then take the better result of those rolls. And of course, with disadvantage, it's the opposite. You take the worst. As far as our attributes, we have 4. So we've got grit, slick, wit, and luck. So if it's something involving physicality, it's going to be grit. If it's dexterity and agility, then you're looking at slick. If it's brain power, then it's wits. And then, of course, if it's gambling or avoiding being shot or anything else that involves luck, obviously enough, you're going to use luck. Now, to get your attributes, you're going to roll a 4-sided die. You're going to note that number, and then you're going to roll a second 4-sided die and subtract the second number from the first. So it's going to leave you anything from +3 to -3. Hit points, these characters are very, very squishy. So are NPCs and everything else. So you are going to roll a 6-sided die and apply your grit modifier, and you can have a minimum of 1 hit point. So if you have a grit modifier of -3, don't be shocked if you only have 1 hit point. So we've got a lot of various random tables for the creation of your player character, your Outlaw Scum. So you're going to find out some specifics about their personality. Are they wanted dead or alive? Now, I also want to point out that for a lot of people out there, they don't want to play evil characters. They don't want to play bad guys, bad gals. Just because you're an outlaw does not necessarily mean you're guilty of what you're accused of. So keep that in mind. We also have backgrounds. So Frontier Scum doesn't use classes. It uses backgrounds. So you're going to roll a D66. And if you're not familiar with that concept, you're simply going to take 2 6-sided dice of different colors. One is going to represent the 10s. The other represents the single digits. And there you go. You've got your D66. Now, something with this More Rulebook edition that you're going to find are more backgrounds. And when you're rolling your background, you're going to find what skill you get with that. It's going to set you apart from other Outlaw Scum, even other Outlaw Scum that are of that background, as well as a starting item. You'll get a bonus skill that you're going to roll randomly on, and you're going to have a bonus item also. You'll have a horse. The horses have these random tables as well to provide you with their personality and the type of horse. Real fun there. Now, as far as encumbrance, super, super simple system here. You've got 4 places you can carry something: in your hand, on your belt, on your back, or on your horse. And that's where you're going to keep your goodies. Now, as far as combat goes, very, very lethal here. So you are going to find that the Outlaw Scum fall rather easily. So do other NPCs too. So as far as dice rolling in Frontier Scum, the players roll dice for everything except for damage. And to be honest, I would actually have the players roll for damage as well, because that way, when all these bad things happen to them, they can blame themselves as opposed to blaming you. So it's the dice cursing them, not you. But all in all, character creation's super fast, super fun, very easy. Take you just a few moments in order to do so. So here's an example of a character. So that's our character sheet right there. So as far as our ability checks, you're looking at the 20-sided die and utilizing the associated attribute modifier. So once again, +3 to -3. So as far as the difficulty ratings, 6 is foolproof. So it's something pretty damn easy to do. It's going to be foolproof. So you need to roll 6 or higher. If it's almost impossible, you're looking at an 18. We also have on a roll of 20 and natural 20, the Outlaw Scum who rolled that is going to get an ace, which can be utilized to re-roll any die roll that's not a 1, which is a critical failure, or a 20. Another concept that's really fun in Frontier Scum is your hat. Every Outlaw Scum has a hat, and If you're attacked and you're taking damage, before the damage gets rolled, you can use your hat. And if you use the hat, it negates the damage of that attack. Now, the hat is gone for the moment, and then after combat, you get to roll to see, was the hat ruined? If you lost it, do you get it back? So if you lose your hat, you can't use that special ability to negate damage until you get another hat. Now, when you reach 0 hit points, you're actually also going to roll on a 20-sided die to see what happens. So could be killed. You could be a goner, which means you're going to die, but not just yet. You could also have it where one of your attributes is going to increase. So that's really your way of advancement with your characters. So pretty fun right there as well. We do have some really simple, basic rules as far as wilderness and hunting. We have various different stat blocks, very small stat blocks for a different game. We've got NPCs as well. And then we'll dive on into our starting adventure. And then we also have some additional random tables here that'll help the game master to create adventures and scenarios. We've got other rules for being wounded and being exhausted, different conditions, being drunk, and so forth. But all in all, these rules are very, very easy to wrap your head around. In fact, altogether, the rules themselves, even including character creation, we're talking about just a few pages. In fact, right here is everything that you would need as both a player and game master to run Frontier Scum right here on these 2 pages. This is a very nice addition here as well. So we've got an introductory adventure, Escape the Oregon Trail, and the Outlaw Scum find themselves prisoners on this prison train, which is traveling to this fort where the player characters are going to meet their maker by way of the hangman's noose. And of course, they don't want that to happen. So this is a breakout adventure. Now, as I had mentioned, this is an acid Western. So what that means, it's kind of like Weird West, but not quite. So in a Weird West role-playing game, say like Deadlands, everyone knows about all these supernatural aspects, or many of the supernatural aspects of the setting. Some of it's just taken for granted. In this acid Western, that's not the case. The vast majority of people who live in this setting know nothing about the supernatural. And if they even know an inkling, their assumption is it's just all wives' tales. That's it. Now, of course, the Outlaw Scum will soon find that's not the case. So we've got a nice introductory adventure. It's kind of a funnel adventure. Once again, the combat here is very, very lethal. So there are opportunities to replace deceased Outlaw Scum as the adventure continues. Now, also keep in mind, you want to make sure the players do realize they don't want to get too attached to their Outlaw Scum just yet. So then we're going to wrap up with a variety of different random tables to assist Game Master with fleshing things out. Very nice. So 68 pages, and I swear there is so much just absolutely jam-packed inside here. Very, very impressive. All right, so that is a peek inside the More Rulebook edition of Frontier Scum. Let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share some final thoughts as well as my review score. As far as the production quality, as I mentioned early on, when I first got the book, I thought, is there something wrong here? There's no spine. And then I found out that it's supposed to be a reproduction of a late 19th century dime novel. And then I thought, wow, that's really wild. Very cool. I dig that a ton. As far as the paper stock, it's nice and heavy, nice and thick. And of course, I do want to point out that the way it's laid out, it's supposed to look kind of like an Old West newspaper. And even though this is a bit of an art punk sort of release, I had absolutely no issues whatsoever reading the game material in Frontier Scum. So that is a big plus. Now, this is very, very rules light. It's important to keep that in mind. So if you're looking for some sort of simulation of old Western gunfights, this is not going to be it. In fact, in combat, you essentially have your characters move and do one thing. But that didn't bother me at all, the abstraction as far as combat. I love how if you run out of hit points, you got to roll a 20-sided die and see what happens. You might be dead. You might not be dead. You might actually see one of your attributes go up one. I thought that was really wild too. The introductory adventure that's contained within should be loads and loads of fun for game masters and players as well. So I dig that. I love the character creation. Super fast, super easy, but you're still going to feel like you have a very unique player character, very unique outlaw scum in which to play with. So kudos to the character creation as well. Honestly, I think anyone who embraces what Frontier Scum is going to have an absolute blast. And I also want to mention that I do think that you could easily utilize Frontier Scum for a non-supernatural Western role-playing game. If you wanted to bust out some old Boot Hill adventures, but use Frontier Scum mechanics, I think you could easily pull that off and have a really, really good time. I do wish we did have a little more information about the Lost Frontier. I do understand there is a lot of supplemental material out there for Frontier Scum, so I'm glad to know that. But in the book itself, I do wish we had just a little more page space devoted to the various different areas of the region. But still, I am very, very impressed by Frontier Scum. Now, is it going to knock Pirate Borg off its top perch as far as my favorite Mirkborg-based game? No. But in its 68 pages, you are going to find a whole hell of a lot of game packed within. So I am going to give, on a scale of 0 to 10, the More Rules edition of Frontier Scum a 9 out of 10. If you have any curiosity about Frontier Scum, I highly recommend checking it out. All right, that's it for this time out. If you enjoy the Gaming Gang and would like to support the outlet, you can do so in a few ways. First, by utilizing our affiliate links to the One Bookshelf sites, such as DriveThruRPG. To do so, simply visit gaminggang.com, click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a 5% commission on most sales. And all those commissions really do add up, help keep thegaminggang.com around. You can also make a one-time donation by way of PayPal and become a monthly member of our Patreon. You'll find information about all of that down in the show notes. Also in the show notes, you'll find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up, so be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. When you're not watching videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, be sure to select all notifications, because YouTube is supposed to let you know not only when I share videos such as this review, it's also supposed to inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central, as I bring you all the latest tabletop role-playing game news and more. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.